Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, bringing you part 4 of the interview with Chris Stiles of 365 Pin Code. We will do a brief summary of parts 1, 2, and 3 in order to set the frame for part 4. We will also provide you with a time signature so you can go directly to part 4. I do hope you enjoy the interview. Hi there, Elevated Planet community. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet. And I'm here today with Mr. Chris Stiles of 365 Pin Code. As I was working on the newsletter for the week, this happens to be edition number 22. I know number 22 is a special number. Explain a little bit about what numerology is all about.
What needs to be clarified is that I am actually not a numerologist. What I am actually first and foremost is a research scientist. That has always been my training. My father was a mathematician. As a child, he took me through many extensive exercises around critical thinking, developing the ability to look for deeper meanings within numbers, especially patterns. And I think that is probably my greatest gift, is to be able to work with series of numbers that identify patterns. Numerology, which basically uses only numbers, provided me with a strategic tool which really allowed me to dig very deep into the human design, especially from the concept of what I call human futurology. We view ourselves as futurists, strategic futurists, but working in the human dimension, not in the dimension of IT. We are actually a grand organized design. All the great minds have always said that mathematics is the language of the universe. So if we are an expression of the universe, which we absolutely are, then why would we not have a mathematical design? This revelationary and revolutionary research is only going to take off when people actually begin to open their minds as to the fact that we are so much more than what we can even begin to fathom. And when you actually suddenly realize that your date of birth and your name are not random, that there is without a doubt an incredibly brilliant and genial set of processes that have taken place around you before you were, if you will, placed into this meat suit, this physical life form. You are a mathematical expression of genius, as am I, as is Suzanne, as is Jolie, as is everybody who watches this recording.
Again, it is difficult for a lot of people to open their minds to this to a large extent, because we get so steeped in our own version of reality. I'm relatively new to this because my mind was blown apart about 4 years ago when I realized that the universe and the world was so much bigger than I'd ever realized. And it's incredible once you start to unpack this stuff.
So let's just pause for a moment and talk about Jolie, because she's a critically important component of Elevated Planet and your journey forward. And I think your choosing her as a strategic partner was probably one of the most incredibly wise things that you've ever done. Firstly, because she carries the master number 22 life path. So these are people who have incredible gifts to be able to help transform the world. This is something that we at 365 Pin Code are trying to do, is build the bridge between the world as we know it, which is fear-based, and the world that Jolie and you wish to move people to, which is not fear-based, which is actually so much more, which, as you say, is elevated consciousness. But that bridge has got to be a practical bridge. And this is why, and I know we've spoken about it at length, but this is why our partnership with yourselves is so incredibly important, because that practical bridge, if you will, gives people the safe walkway for them to tiptoe into our world. And then if they get a little bit scared, they can reverse out and then they can tiptoe a little bit forward, but at least it's numbers driven. The stuff that Jolie does is off the charts, absolutely off the charts. I can't do it. I can't understand it. She's in a world of her own and a realm of her own. But in many ways, and again, it comes back to the 22, the genius of the 22, the master builder, and many things that have happened in this world of ours have been massive transformation, changes, etc., the building of new things, ideas, concepts, structures have been done through people with this number 22 life path.
With Elevated Planet, what we're trying to do is it's there to appeal to the mainstream. It's turning the negative media on its head. And it's kind of understanding that is something which people are comfortable with, because we all know that the media just reinforces the negativity and the fear-based way of approaching life. But then it's balancing it out, having fun in life. Because I do think this is like part of elevating who we are, and it is elevating our emotions to a better place, which is the place that we all want to be. We all want to be living in, with love, laughter, and getting the right lifestyle behind us. That's our foundation. But we create the opportunity for the spiritually curious to be able to explore, as you say, to tiptoe across that bridge and then go back again if they're not comfortable with it, and go back to their version of reality. Who else out there that we might know in the world today might also be a 22?
Master number 22 is known as the number of the master builder. People that have this number, especially in their life path, have been, if you will, blessed with the ability to do and achieve phenomenal things this lifetime. However, this has to be done in cooperation, collaboration with others, and it has to be done in a way which is being driven for the benefit of many, not just themselves. If you take, for example, Sir Richard Branson. Sir Richard Branson, I think, is probably one of the greatest architects of change in order to be able to do things to benefit people. Now, Sir Richard Branson has a number 22 life path, as does Joe Lay, as does, for example, Meghan Markle. But the thing is, when you have a master life path, that life path presents you with two options. You either honor the double two, which is the feminine energy doubled up or amplified, working in a manner that is cooperative, collaborative for the collective good of all. Or the number 22 drops into its lower octave, which is the number 4. 22, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And the number 4, which is the lower octave of the 22 life path, actually is all about me. And this is where things go wrong. I actually love pulling out the range of or major arcana within the tarot deck and actually having a look at the number 20. And the number 20 is dealing with judgment. So how fascinating that if we look at this here and we just split those numbers down the middle, 20 judgment and 22 the master builder. In other words, where people with this number have been acting in a manner where they have been exploiting, if you will, the system or the collective of the system for their own advantage, then they are going to be brought under extreme judgment. And mark my words when I say that. I don't say that lightly. When those moments of karmic come up and present in a given year or over a couple of years, that's it. Game, set, and match. It's going to be a great white shark attack in your life. But now we come to a very interesting year.
Yes.
Well, the number 2 is all about balance. It's the feminine energy. It's most importantly, it's about equilibrium. 2022 has got 3 2. Plus there's a 0, which is going to really add booma into this number 2. So what are we dealing with? I believe that we are dealing with a year which is going to have emotional outpourings on a level that we have probably never seen nor experienced. This is a year when anything that has been oppressed or suppressed is going to explode. I'm actually going to raise the issue of Prince Andrew. This is the start of what I would call the feminine energy revolution. Now, if you look at Prince Andrew and you go and study his numbers, Prince Andrew is born on the 19th and he has a number 19 life path. Therefore, the number 19 presents in double impact in his 365 pin code. The number 19 is a number that deals with leadership. And it carries within it huge power and huge potential to do phenomenal things in terms of leadership. The purpose of leaders is to serve others.
Right.
And leaders are so much at the moment about themselves. And the reason his life is collapsing right now in the way it is because he has misused and abused his position of power. And in a year now, which is coded universally for the feminine revolution, well, he's getting his comeuppance. I really hope that very soon global leaders, governments, strategic thinkers, strategic planners will begin to sit up and take notice of the work and the efforts that people like you and I and our support system are doing in order to give this world what I believe is a very needed shakedown in terms of so much of what we believe to be true about life is in actual fact a lie.
Yes.
And we need to actually, number one, be brave enough to acknowledge it, and number two, be bold enough to then go into this incredible world that is emerging, the world of the Joe Lay, which is invisible, but therefore should not just be cast aside.
Yes.
And money should be set aside for research and tremendous scientific and intellectual endeavor into this. I mean, for goodness sake, if I look at how much money is wasted every single year across the world on what I call arbitrary research, it actually just does my head in. The whole world right now is crying out for a new philosophy, a new way of thinking, a new life, a new raison d'etre, if you will. And I truly believe it behooves global leaders to actually step up and start taking very, very, very serious cognizance of what I call the SQ. So it all began with IQ, John, intellectual quotient. There we go. John's brighter than Chris. Rah, rah, rah. Hold on a moment. Oh, scratch again, scratch again. There's something called the intellectual quotient, the emotional quotient, EQ. Oh, my word. Now, all the corporates and the businesses around the world went mad about EQ. Now, if you don't have EQ, you can't be a C-suite manager. Well, what about SQ, spiritual quotient? We haven't even begun to unpack that. Why? Because it challenges everything that we believe to be true. Therefore, it is incredibly uncomfortable. And until leaders around the world understand that we cannot move forward until we have got IQ, EQ, and SQ, most importantly, SQ, then we are stuck, if you will, in the mud. And John, as long as I've got breath and as long as you've got breath, we have got to challenge the system.
Right. Yeah, I totally get it. And you put it across so well. One of the things that struck me when you were telling us about this, looking ahead for 2022, I tap into a couple of resources. One of them is Joe Lay, about what is coming up for the year ahead. And these, I believe, are very reliable sources. And it's all about change. It's all about people having their versions of reality changed, and also this emotion of grief, collective grief. And the collective grief could be very much around people having to let go of the version of reality that they've held so close throughout their lives, to realize that actually the truth is so much more different. But the joy of it is, it's so much better. It's so much better than the density and distortion of the story we've been told over the decades that we've grown up with and taken to be that version of reality. Because I know I did. And I sympathize with everybody that is not on that SQ track, because, I was 57 before I even began that journey. So, I had 57 years of being stuck in that, the programmed, conditioned kind of version of reality. And now I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And I think 2022 could be this year where we really do see significant change.
John, on that issue, let's just take 2022. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So 2022 is the number 6 universal year. The number 6 is all about relationships, responsibility, matters of the heart, community, doing good, but primarily relationships and responsibility. Therefore, this is a year where the universal vibration of the number 6 is going to ask questions of all of us in terms of how we have lived our lives in terms of relationships, responsibility, home, family, matters of the heart, etc., etc. And if we've done well, there will be rewards. If we are found to be wanting, there will be very powerful lessons. And you just used a word which lit up my neurology like an absolute Christmas tree: truth. The number that is associated with truth is the number 7. 7 follows on from 6. 2023 is going to be a number 7 universal year. Therefore, the emotional relationship, etc., fallout of 2022 is going to cause, I believe, a global desire to search for a new truth. That will be, as I say, next year. And that will be when messages like this chat that you and I are having, will really find their traction. Because people will then be in the right mindset. I believe that when this video goes out, it will set seeds. And those seeds will lie in people's seed bank, the seed bank of their mind. Some may rot and some may disintegrate and some may germinate. But guaranteed, John, this chat of ours is really, really going to, if you will, gain massive momentum towards the end of this year, early next year. Mark my words, because that is the natural follow-on in terms of the cycle of 9. 1 being the beginning, 9 being the ending. And we are in a very, very challenging cycle right now. It began in 2017, which 2017, 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So that was the number 1 universal year. And it goes all the way through to 2025, which is the number 9. And this is going to be a very, very dramatic cycle of 9, where literally, if you will, humanity is going to have the kitchen sink thrown at them. But it is very necessary. And just as the feminine energy has been oppressed and suppressed, that which has been oppressed and suppressed has to fire back. If you look at the universe and the laws of the universe, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So therefore, when this feminine energy surges with extreme momentum, if you will, don't cast your eyes to the heavens or tear your hair out, because it has to surge back with the same energy and force that it has been suppressed.
Right.
With. So whatever this explosion that's going to take place in 22 is nothing more than the absolute equal and opposite reaction of everything that has been done to suppress and keep the feminine energy and everything to do with the number 22 underneath for a very, very, very long period of time. Therefore, it is necessary for this eruption of the number 2 to take place in order for, it's literally like the mountain has got to explode. And once the mountain has exploded, then the landscape becomes level again, and then some form of equilibrium can be restored between the 1, which is masculine and logic, and 2, which is feminine and emotion or intuition. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And it is in 2023, when people will be searching for this truth, that they will be knowingly or unknowingly looking to find or restore the balance between the masculine and the feminine, because you cannot have one operating in isolation of the other. The 1 and the 2, when operating in harmony, give rise to the number 3, which is creativity, the creative act. And that is, if you will, exactly what we are. You, me, everybody out there, 8 billion people around this planet are creative, number 3, expressions of the universe.
Wow. Yeah, funny. This is. I'm convinced, as you say, that we're going through such significant change at the moment, and it's interesting you say starting from 2017, because I've certainly heard that as well from other sources as well, and that period 2017 to 2025, and certainly 2023 and 2024 to be tumultuous years as well, and it's all about change. And yet, personally, I don't feel daunted by this. I feel excited by it because I think it's bringing us back to where we need to go to progress for the future. Because I think this is when it comes to light how distorted the picture is that we've been given, that we bought into. And then we start to realize actually just how amazing we each individually are. Because there's no doubt about it, we're all equals. Actually, it doesn't matter whether what your sexuality, your race, your religion, whatever, we're all the same. We all have an equal value. And I think that there's a lot of people out there in life who like to control things, who have put themselves on that pedestal because that's where they want to be, because that gives them control. And often that does come down to creating fear amongst others, because then those others then hand their power to that person, and that it'll elevates them. This is a house of cards that I feel is going to come tumbling down, and I think it's for the betterment of us all, really, because they are very exciting times, and it's fascinating how the numerical science that sits behind all this is pointing this way. I love it.
Well, John, what is incredibly important to remember, and maybe this is a final shot from me into the minds of the people who are watching this video and hopefully absorbing a great amount and thoroughly enjoying this dialogue between you and me, is that earlier I made mention of IQ, EQ, and SQ. If we look at the world that we are living in, if we look at the pace of change, if we look at what happened to our lives as a result of COVID-19, if we look at how much change we have all had to deal with in such a short space of time, if we look at the speed of change that is being wrought upon us every second of every day, through technological advancements, one of the most important things for each and every human as we move forward is to understand.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 4 of the interview with Chris. You can go to the link for the full 1-hour interview at the end of this video. Part 5 will be following next week. Thank you very much for watching. This is John Drew from Elevated Planet, wishing you love and light.